that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. So lovely earth can stay lovely still.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Energy Week with George Harvey and the very famous Tom Fennell.
Hey, it looks like we both got haircuts.
Yes, it does. I had my haircut before the last show, but definitely we both got haircuts. Every day I get up and take a look at the news relating to energy and climate change, and I keep a blog where I post a posting that has all the most interesting days of the day's news, usually 10 to 15 items, a 50-word synopsis of each with a link to the original article. And that is at geoharvey, geoharvey.wordpress.com. You can go there and take a look at any of the articles we're talking about. We're starting on the 19th of May.
I just mention what you're saying there, because a lot of these articles we're talking about are in depth.
Oh, they are.
We don't have time on this show to talk about them in
that's
depth.
True. That's
so
true.
You go to his website, you click on the link. Bingo, up it comes in.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Stuff.
Well, most of the time it works.
Most of the time it works. Every once in a while I put a link into something that I can get to and nobody else can.
That has happened to me.
It has happened, and it happens that when it's like that, sometimes I go back and find I can't get to it either. And there are places that just, once you've got in, if they'll let you in from Google, for example, and I could go in again from Google, except that it has recorded the fact that I was there yesterday. And
okay,
so it won't
they're
let
counting.
They're trying to be sneaky, but a lot of places, most of the good places don't do that. Anyway, we're going to start on the 19th of May with an article from Grist.
We got a picture here.
We have a picture. There we go. The picture is there. You can bring it up. This is a nice picture. Yeah.
This is deja vu.
Deja vu again.
Yeah.
All over.
We've seen a very similar picture
yes,
in the
right.
past of some bucolic German village with medieval houses and solar all over the roofs.
Yep. This is from Grist. You got a title on this?
Europe keeps hitting clean energy milestones.
And they're not kidding either. May has been a good month for clean energy in Europe. Coal plants have faltered and wind plants are thriving. And not just in Denmark, the continent's shining example of renewable energy. We are whizzing by milestones right and left.
Well, I touched base on 3 of the milestones.
Yeah,
it's significant. First one is Portugal ran on renewables alone for 4 days straight.
Yeah.
Bingo, I mean.
They got
the second one, now I'm not surprised with Germany. Germany was almost entirely powered by solar and wind, so they're almost there.
It's a little bit surprising when you consider the size of the German economy. Getting Portugal to 100% renewable for 4 days.
That's so surprising. Yeah, I hear you. And Britain, this is also very significant.
This one really surprised
Britain
me.
was powered without coal for the first time in 130 years.
Wow. And
now, that's a milestone. That is a milestone,
yes. And that actually was something that happened, and then it happened again, and then it happened again, and then it happened again. And,
are you trying to say there's a trend here?
Yeah, there's a trend. It gets more and more common to see that sort of thing happening. So our next item is from vtdigger.org.
Yeah. Shumlin pokes critics while touting growth of green energy jobs.
Yeah.
He sounds like a guy running for office.
He does. Well, Governor Shumlin is he's a guy who has, I think, 2 speeds, which are forward fast and forward faster. Anyway, Vermont's renewable energy sector exceeded growth projections in 2015 by 3%, meaning an additional 1,400 employees for a total of 17,700 renewable energy-related jobs in the state, according to Governor Shumlin. Green energy employs about 6% of the state's workforce. This is a high percentage.
It's providing a fair amount of jobs, and they're good-paying jobs, too.
Yeah, they are. They are.
I got a quick takeaway here.
Okay.
I didn't hear his speech, but it sounds like it was interesting.
Yes.
Shumlin took several jabs at critics of renewable energy. And this is one of his jabs. At a time when we're all a little cynical about politics, Mostly because all the press will do is often report the negative. Duh. Maybe we should take a second to celebrate the positive.
Yes.
We're doing it. If more states were doing what Vermont's doing, we'd have a better country and a more prosperous country, and we'd have lower electricity rates. And he commented on the moratorium on wind that's being proposed by some of his opponents.
Yes.
And his remark to them, his jab, if you will, was, whose jobs are you proposing to eliminate when you propose a moratorium?
Yeah, well.
So he took the gloves off.
Yeah. Whose jobs are you proposing to eliminate, indeed? And, you know, that's the basis for the attacks on wind in Vermont is, there's a number of things that they're bases, I guess, is a plural of bases. There's a number of things that they're saying, and every one of them, if you look at what science has to say about it, there's something wrong with what they're saying. And, you know,
well, there's a well-organized opposition.
There is.
And they're not always being truthful, but there's always a little bit of truth in what they say.
There's a little bit of showmanship that's involved here that reminds me of the magician who puts the scantily clad, cute young woman next to him, because he knows that if you do that, half the eyes in the audience are going to go off your hands. And in this case, what they're doing is they are making people scared so that they won't think about their own opinions.
Yeah, they're frightening them.
That
Absolutely.
really bothers me.
Fear is a great motivator.
Fear is a great motivator. And
oh my God, these things keep me up all night.
Yeah, well, you know,
we've heard them.
I used to get waked up when I lived on a mountaintop by a locomotive, diesel locomotive, that was 10 miles away. When you live on mountaintops, you can hear all kinds of weird things. I could hear tractor trailers on Route 91. Route 91 didn't go through the town that I lived in. It didn't go through a town next to where I lived. It went into.
It was in a different state.
It was in a different state. What? Yeah. Okay. Well, we should probably get on with this, but you know, if you're worried about the value of your property going down because of wind power, all evidence points to the fact that it doesn't. And if you're worried about people getting sick, one thing that you should understand is the fossil fuels industry is creating air pollution, and the air pollution is costing Americans
making people sick.
$680 each on average in the United States.
Each person.
Each person. If you have a family of 4, the medical bills from fossil fuels are $2,720.
Spread out,
yeah.
But your share.
And they include everything from Lyme disease to asthma. And you know, when you look at what all of that is, you might say, well, I don't get sick. And yeah, if you don't have to worry about this if you don't pay taxes, if you don't pay medical insurance, and if you're never going to get sick and you're never going to die. So
well, you know, you were with me when we measured the sound at Searsburg.
Yes.
Now I live on Elliott Street. You live on Elliott Street.
Right.
I will guarantee you there's more noise on Elliott Street than there was in Searsburg 99% of the time.
Yes. And in fact, if you remember, we measured the sound from a guy who was standing about 150 feet from the base of a working wind turbine and talking, and he was louder than the wind turbine.
Yeah. And the cars going by, the noise from their tires was louder than the wind turbine.
Yeah.
Not the motors or the mufflers.
When we were in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And nobody would be living closer to the wind turbine than that. But, I mean, clearly nobody would, but nobody would be living as close to that wind turbine as we were when we measured the guy talking.
Not unless they were camping.
But for crying out loud, the leaves, the sound of the leaves in the trees rustling in the wind drowned out the sound of the wind turbines at part of the time that we were in that parking lot.
Well, I'd say being fair, there's probably some high wind conditions when the turbines make a little bit more noise.
The thing that makes them make a lot of noise is when the wind is variable but high enough that it makes sense to have the wind turbine going. Mm-hmm. Because the real noise is when they're adjusting their direction.
Mm-hmm. And that's a clunk.
Yeah.
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 Now
Okay.
let's move on
The River Reporter.
from governor to governor.
Governor to governor. Okay.
Okay, a gift to the nuclear power industry.
Yeah, how about that? New York State officials discussing the state's proposed clean energy standard. The proposed plan calls for the state to generate 80% of electricity from renewable power by 2050. Incredibly, however, the proposed plan includes subsidies for 4 nuclear power plants. This is New York State. They have those 4 plants, and
Built by Rochester.
well, they have Indian Point.
That's not among the
It's
4.
not among the 4. So, yeah.
I suspect, and this is just me being suspicious, but I hope they're right, is that Cuomo's making a deal.
Yes.
He says, I'll give you your subsidies for these 4 plants. You give me Indian Point. I want that place closed.
Well, you know.
And he does. Yeah,
He wants Indian Point closed. And if anything happened at Indian Point, the evacuation of New York City would be a complete nightmare.
No, it wouldn't. It's just not possible. Maybe 100,000 people might get out of New York City. Maybe.
Well, honestly, I think that they could get everybody out of New York City if they've got a couple of weeks to do it.
Okay, I'm not going to dispute.
They've got to keep.
I'm not going to dispute that.
They're not going to get. Certainly, they're not going to get everybody out in one day.
No way.
It's not going to happen. You're going to
The
have
bridges would fall down.
the New York City evacuating to where? They're going to be evacuating through Newark. You know,
Newark's
through
in the zone
Passaic.
too.
Newark's in the zone too. The roads, you get out of New York City, the roads are already clogged. You get out of New York City going to Long Island, the roads are already clogged. You're not going to go north. So it's really kind of a frightening
And north is the
circumstance.
only way you can go.
It's the only way you can go.
And there's not enough roads.
But even if you could go north,
Yeah.
that's where the nuclear power plant
You're
is.
heading right into it. Yep.
You know, this is a.
It's well, 50 years ago when they planned Indian Point, nobody was even thinking this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's move along.
Let's move along. Friday, May 20th. We have a picture here of a. There are certain pictures that I just enjoy, and one of them is pictures of things that happen at sea. And energy at sea, really amazing. And here, this is an item that comes from Cleveland.com, and yes, we are talking about Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes, absolutely. U.S. DOE awards $3.7 million to Lake Erie Wind Turbine Project. And a picture there. Well, the picture is identified, but
Yeah.
it's their wind turbine. That's the Cleveland wind turbine.
Yeah, the DOE is advancing another $3.7 million to the Lake Erie Energy Development Corporation to continue engineering work on a proposed wind turbine project in Lake Erie. This is offshore wind in the Great Lakes, about 7 to 10 miles northwest of downtown Cleveland. DOE grants to LeadCo are now $10.7 million.
Well, there's 2 backstories going on here. The first one, I didn't even catch till I've read this about 3 times. Lake Erie freezes over.
Yes.
So these turbines have to be capable of withstanding the ice.
That's a serious
and
problem.
that's basically what they're trying to prove here.
Yeah.
Because this is a prototype.
Yeah.
This whole project, they're building 20 of them, I think.
Yep.
It's a prototype. They want to see if it will work.
Yep.
And
if it'll work, Lake Erie is big. They could put a lot of wind
they could put a
turbines
lot of them up there.
In Lake Erie. And you know, these Great Lakes are so big that you could have offshore wind turbines in Lake Michigan, for example, and not be able to see them from shore. Not be able to see them from shore.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing too, people are worried about birds being killed by wind turbines. 70%.
Birds are too smart.
Yeah, 70% of the seabird population in the world that was there in 1960 has disappeared. 70%.
And they haven't built the turbines yet.
They haven't built the turbines yet. This is air pollution from fossil fuels for the most part.
We never think about that. That's just gone off into the...
It's the reason why the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds and the Audubon Society are interested in seeing renewable power, and they're putting up wind power. Both of them have put up wind turbines at or near headquarters. The Royal Society for the Protection of Birds has a wind turbine at its headquarters, and the thing is, this thing is controlled so that it won't kill bats, because the bats never get up that high unless certain conditions happen, and whenever those conditions are there, they shut it off.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, the utility model has been to socialize the externals.
Right.
They're out there. We don't know anything. Nobody knows anything, but somebody's paying for them, and it isn't them.
Yes. And that when you look at how that plays out in nuclear power, you know, I got an email from a pro-nuclear proponent, you know, who said, just look at how safe nuclear power is compared to coal. Well, yeah, coal is dangerous. And he said, look, for example, when Chernobyl blew up, there were only 17 people who got killed by the explosion.
Oh, is that all?
But that's the people who got killed by falling bricks and things like that. He didn't count in that the number of people who died whose death certificate said radiation poisoning. Most times they do, you know, and they'll say, oh, it was 83 or some number like that. But every time we do this, I have to click on this thing. The Chernobyl report said, oh, well, we're expecting 6,000 fatal cancers out of this. And the other Chernobyl report, what they call the torch report, said, well, no, it's not 6,000. Your data processing is, you know, your statistical methods are wrong. It's more like 20. And then you get, you know, Greenpeace saying, well, really, it's more like 960,000 people are being killed. And then you got other people who go further. Who do you believe? Yeah. Well, you can't believe one thing, and that is that nobody died unless of this problem, unless their death certificate says they died of it. Because people die of cancer that's caused by nuclear. And the fact that the nuclear industry refuses to acknowledge that is a very clear indication that they're just not being upfront.
Well, there's two major things about nuclear that we don't think about. Well, one of them's a good thing. When they're working right, they're relatively safe.
Yeah, when they're working right.
But the other thing is we totally overlook the cost in providing the fuel.
Yeah, you know where they really overlook that?
And that's pretty horrible what they do.
The place they really overlook that is in these upcoming wonderful reactors that are based on fusion. And they say, it's just water. The fuel is water. I got news for you. It's not water. It's deuterium oxide, which, yeah, well, technically it's
water.
Sort of water, except that it costs $600 a quart. And then the other half of the fuel is tritium oxide, and that's sort of water too.
Sort of water,
except it costs about $1 million a quart. I don't know what to make of all of this. But one thing you know, they said back in the 60s, you know, and back in the 70s, there's a 1 in 10,000 chance of a nuclear reactor melting down. And I said, what? I was talking to a pair of nuclear engineers. And the guy said, well, it's 1 in 10,000 per year. And I said, well, that's only 250, you know, chance of 1 in 250 if you're going out 40 years.
And that's the life of a reactor.
That's the life of a reactor. And the guy said, well, but you're not likely ever to see that. And the other one said, well, you know, we've already had a meltdown at Fermi 1. And the first engineer said, what? He didn't know. And then the guy said, and then there was also a meltdown just outside of Los Angeles. What? And then now, today, we've had about 500 nuclear reactors come online. 11 of them have melted down. I can name them if you want, but I don't have time right now, but I can. And, you know, okay, Chernobyl, Fukushima Daiichi had 3, 3 Mile Island, Fermi 1, SRE 2 at Saint-Laurent. There was one at Chapel Cross, one at Yoslevska Bohunice. That I think is 11. 11 out of 500, that's 2% of them plus have melted down. Is that really what we want in our...
I don't think so.
I don't
I
either.
think that
I'm a NIMBY.
economics is going to solve the problem. I think in the long run, because these nuclear plants are getting too expensive to build.
They're too expensive. There was an item that came up today where the Saudi government said solar is cheaper. Why would we build these things? That it was just one
The
guy.
Saudis said that, huh? That's
one guy in
well,
Saudi.
They got all the sun in the
just
world.
One guy, you know. Yeah.
When I was over there, we used to say, "What's our oil doing buried under their sand?" Now we're going to be saying, well, "Why are they getting all of our sun?"
All of our sunshine. That's right. There you go. Okay,
Let's move along to the Daily Times here.
Daily Times is the next thing. What do you got?
By oil price crash, Europe's oil majors warm up to green energy investments.
Right.
Europe's the story here, is that real or is this a front?
No, this is real. Europe's biggest oil companies, reeling from losing billions on a 2-year market rout, are intensifying their push to renewable energy as they hunt for new sources of future revenue. Shell, Eni, Total, and Statoil have all announced green energy investments totaling $2.5 billion.
And they're all European countries.
Yeah, but they're only going to sustain this push to green until the price of oil reaches $60 a barrel.
Oh, is that so?
That's my prediction.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, these people are not, you know, they, guys at Shell said, we're investing in green, but, you know, really, they're kind of hoping that they can keep things.
But at least they're trying. Our guys aren't even trying. Exxon has got a kind of a little thing that they say they're doing.
Yeah, right. And they also have other things that they're trying, which...
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Our next item is from the Tribune Review. What do you got there, Tom?
Pennsylvania Review Commission rejects Public Utilities Corporation or Commission plan to cap net metering sales. This is a biggie.
Yeah. Pennsylvania's Independent Regulatory Review Commission unanimously rejected the state's Public Utility Commission's controversial rules that would have capped surplus sales to utilities through net metering at 200% of a customer's annual consumption. And yes, this is a big one. It's
well, what the utilities are doing is they're trying to limit how much money they pay.
yeah. When you hear about a net metering cap, that has only one purpose, and that is to prevent new renewable energy from coming online.
Yeah.
So, what can you say? Should we move on?
Well, in any case, the Review Commission threw that out.
Yes.
They said that isn't fair.
Yes.
I agree with them.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a picture coming up now.
We're up to Saturday, May 21st, and this is from Clean Technica.
The European Union's Smart Meter Initiative, just the smart metering stuff, will cut emissions by 9%.
That's interesting. Smart metering will cut emissions by 9%. That means smart metering is going to save people money, it's going to save people's lives, it's going to save medical expenses, it's going to save wildlife, forests.
There's a lot of benefits of smart metering. Now, the downside is that the power company is going to know when you take a shower.
No, not quite. They don't know that you're taking a shower as opposed to washing your dishes or something like that. They know when you've got your
The upside is you can dry your dishes at 4 o'clock in the morning,
right.
and it's done automatically if you agree to this net metering concept.
Right.
And you're saving money. They're cutting emissions by 9%.
Yep.
Which is just another way of measuring money, really.
Yes.
Everybody's saving money on this deal.
It's an interesting point. Emissions cost money. Okay.
Nice solar farm. It's not in Europe. It's in South Carolina.
Yep.
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Pretty good sized plant too.
It is, yes, indeed. Okay, our next one is from Sunday, May 22nd, and this is from the BBC.
Voters like green energy, according to a conservative group.
Is that what it says?
Voters like green energy, conservative group says from the Charlotte Observer.
Charlotte Observer.
Oh, you're a day ahead of me.
I'm a day ahead of you.
Well, one unit, but it's the next day. Yeah.
Voters. Charlotte Observer.
Charlotte Observer.
I don't see it.
You don't have it.
No. Maybe I erased it and you caught it before I.
Well, I'll read what you were going to say then.
Okay, go ahead.
Conservatives for Clean Energy, interesting name of a group,
Yes.
commissioned a poll of 800 North Carolina voters on attitudes toward energy sources. It found deep support among both Democrats and Republicans for solar and wind energy, but less enthusiasm for nuclear power and offshore drilling.
Yep. I had that in, and I took it out because we had too many stories.
Oh, okay. So we'll.
I thought you hadn't seen it yet. Okay.
I got started on Sunday, so.
Aha. Okay.
Okay, so since we're moving into Sunday, let's move into Sunday and let's get this picture up there.
Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I had this thing wrong. I didn't take it out. There it is, right in front of me. Oh well. Stupid me. Never trust George.
Well,
okay, this is from
let's
the
move
BBC.
along with it. The next one. This is an interesting one.
Yes, go ahead.
We've talked about the Solar Impulse, and that's the Solar
something.
Impulse landing in Ohio.
Yes.
And that's what the headline is.
Yeah.
Solar Impulse airplane reaches Ohio.
Solar Impulse has landed in Ohio following the 12th stage of its circumnavigation of the globe. The zero-fuel aircraft arrived in Dayton at 21:56 local time, having flown from Tulsa, Oklahoma. The 1,100-kilometer journey took about 16 hours to complete, a relatively short hop for the plane. And by the way, I believe it's in the air right now, and I forget where it's landing. I think it's going to land in New Jersey or something.
And well, they're calling it in this article New York, but it could be
Okay.
New Jersey. 'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
Newark
was
Airport
a
is
really
considered
short
New York.
hop. Really short
Well,
hop.
yeah, they're doing that now
And they
because they're
always
getting
have-
ready for the long hop.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know what they're going to do for the long hop, but it seems to me that it would make sense for them to fly from this next stop to maybe Newfoundland. And
I
then
would
go
not
from
be
there.
at all surprised if that's what they did, because that's the normal route for transatlantic
Yeah,
air passengers.
that's where they would go anyway.
And you refuel.
Okay.
That's what they do in Newfoundland. They
Right.
refuel.
Our next item is from KTNV Las Vegas.
Okay. Mirrors blame
Mirrors.
for fire
Yeah,
at
authorities.
world's largest solar plant on the Nevada-California border.
Yep.
We talked about this solar plant.
Many times.
This is quite a plant.
Authorities say misaligned mirrors caused a small fire that shut down a generating tower at the world's largest solar plant. San Bernardino County Fire Captain Mike McClintock says a malfunction caused focused sunbeams wrong, causing electrical cables to catch on fire. And they say the plant's going to be down for quite a while, not months, but a week or two. And
I don't have anything on that.
it's not in
yet.
the article. It was in
Okay.
another article that came up today.
Well,
Okay.
somebody screwed up for sure.
Somebody didn't. Somebody made a mistake. Okay, we're
Now
up.
we got
to,
another picture coming up.
We do. This is Monday, May 23rd, and again we're looking at ocean stuff going on.
This is interesting. Well, I'll read the headline,
Yep.
and then you read your thing, and then
Okay.
I got a comment to make.
Yeah,
Surf and turf contract.
that's what
It's a
they're
win
calling
for
it.
Newcastle-founded energy firm Proton Power Systems. That
Yep.
sounds like a puff piece, but
Yep. This is Chronicle Live. Proton Power Systems has sealed a work deal in the Orkney Islands Surf and Turf Green Energy Project. The Newcastle founded firm's fuel cells are used in vehicles and buildings. Now the group expertise has been called on for Scottish Renewable scheme. And what we're seeing here is ocean turbines.
yeah, this blew my mind. I'm looking at this picture and said, "What? You know, this is the strangest turbine I've seen. There's
Right.
short blades, and there's two sets of blades.
Two
What's
sets of
going
blades.
on?" And
And
then I
if
read the
you-
article, and this is undersea.
Yeah, if you look at this carefully, you'll see that these blades are set to rotate in opposite directions.
You're looking at something that I didn't even catch.
Well,
but I'm
if you
sure
look
you're
to
right.
the right of
I'm
the,
sure you're right.
If you look at the blades that are on the right side, the near one has a bulge on the bottom, and the far one has the same bulge on the top.
Yeah,
So
I'll buy
you
that.
know, And that makes sense that these turbines are intended to, offset each other and not
Work together rather
Work
than
together.
oppose it. Yeah.
yeah.
They call it surf and turf, by the way, for a reason.
Yes, they
It's
do.
the combined use of electricity supplied from tidal turbines, which we see,
Yep.
and nearby onshore wind turbines.
Right.
Okay, surf and turf.
Yep. And this is in the Orkneys, which have in case anybody.
Where are the Orkneys?
The
They're pretty
Orkneys,
far out, aren't they?
They're kind of far out. They're north of Scotland. And that's an area, the Shetland Islands are north of Scotland, and the Orkneys, as I recall, are farther yet.
Farther out, yeah.
And there's not a lot of people up
almost
there.
in Norway, aren't they?
Well, they used to belong to Norway.
All right, I can buy that.
But so did Lewis, which is in the Outer Hebrides, west of Scotland.
Well, Norway got a little bit greedy, didn't they?
Yeah. Well,
you can see
goes
Lewis
back
from the mainland.
yeah, this goes back to the days when the Vikings were around, and Lewis was the island that Donald Trump's mother came from.
Oh, is that so? Yeah, that's
right.
interesting.
And apparently she spoke Gaelic.
Another interesting thing here, the project involves generating hydrogen from wind and tidal energy
There you go.
and using it as the energy storage medium.
Yeah, this is an island where they have had no ties with the mainland in terms of energy cables.
So they're out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and if you want power out there, you got to
You
get
got to
it
bring
from
it in
diesel.
by boat.
Yeah, that's right. So now what they've got is this system which is going to be underwater, and it's going to give them electrical power 24/7, and they're going to get so much of it that they're talking about putting in cables going to the mainland.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
So anyway,
Alrighty.
where are we now? Oh, there we are.
Summer outlook.
Electric Co-op today.
Yeah, now let's. I'm trying to figure out what to put up here on the screen.
Well,
I'll put us.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, I'll put us
Yeah,
here.
when in doubt, put
then
us
I can
on the
figure
screen.
it out. Summer outlook good for low power prices.
There you go. Energy prices are to remain low and fuel supplies high this summer, according to federal energy experts. More than 18 gigawatts of
That's a lot.
generating capacity will be
That's a
added
lot.
to the grid this summer, mostly from new wind and solar projects, though the first nuclear plant in 20 years is expected. And by the way,
We're going to talk about that.
that plant is already online.
It's online already.
Yes,
I knew they
it is.
were just running preliminary tests.
They were doing
Yep.
preliminary tests, but the stuff that I'm seeing from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission said 8%. It was at 8% putting power on the grid, and that means that it's putting a little bit less than 100 megawatts right now. And of course they're ramping it up.
Yes,
so
little by little. Yeah.
little by little. They have to test it,
Oh yeah, sure,
So
absolutely.
it might be middle of summer, end of summer before the tests are all done. Nevertheless, it's putting power on the grid. Okay.
Okay, the next one is the power cutters. The power cutters, remember that phrase, shaking up Britain's energy market.
Euronews gave us this. Britain is turning to a new way to make sure it doesn't run out of power. The so-called aggregator firms get commitments from businesses to reduce power usage. For example, supermarkets can turn down refrigerators by a few degrees for a short-term period without any impact. And supermarkets are just one example. I don't know that they're the biggest. Certainly, if they can get people to turn off water heaters periodically, that makes a huge difference. And
Well, this was a long and large article.
Yeah.
And this is a very bigger, much bigger thing than it looks like in this little summary that we've got
yes,
going here.
indeed.
We talked about aggregating. We talked about virtual utility.
Yes,
And this is a twist on that.
yes,
It's still an aggregator, but they're aggregating savings
yes,
rather than aggregating sources of power.
yes,
And the best power, the most economical power you can get is that power you save.
yes. Well, that's the lowest of low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, absolutely. So this
absolutely.
is, and these aggregator firms, from what I read in the article, they're big.
Yes,
this,
they
this
are.
Is a significant
There's a lot of money to
thing
be made by
happening
saving
here.
power.
Yep.
Absolutely, there is.
So it's a very interesting thing, and it's going to happen here eventually, I'm sure.
Right. Okay. So our next item comes from The Guardian.
Oh, we got a picture here coming up.
Isn't this a pretty picture? This is not
It is
a
nice.
real thing. It's
No,
a,
this
it's a
is an
simulation.
artist's.
But it's probably pretty close to what the real thing is going to look like. I mean,
This is kind of nasty.
what?
A club owned by Shell tries to block a local hydropower scheme.
This is Shell Oil, which is saying we're the good guys. And of course, community hydropower scheme on the Thames at Teddington Lock and Weirs won planning permission and defeated a judicial review from the Lensbury Club. But the club is now seeking appeal against the judicial review decision. It is owned by Shell Oil. This is in The Guardian. And what you're seeing there is 3 turbines. Those
No,
three,
they're Archimedes screws.
they're Archimedes screw.
Not turbines.
Well, they're called Archimedes screw turbines.
Are they?
Yeah, they are.
All right.
Because the other, if you turn them, if
They
you,
go slow.
yeah, they go slow. If you turn them to push the water up, they're Archimedes screw pumps.
So reverse Archimedes screws.
They're yes, and you can have them operate as pumps. You can have them operate as turbines making power. But these are
Well,
these
Archimedes
guys.
lived a long time ago, didn't he?
He sure did. No question about it. These turbines are so what's the word? Gentle. That fish will pass through them without any harm to them at all. They're as pumps.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, as pumps, they're used in hatcheries to move fry around because they don't hurt the fry.
yeah.
Because they're, it's just it's a slow turn. Nothing is getting slammed into anything. There really is just about no way a fish can get killed by one of these things or even hurt, and they are expensive to put up on a per watt basis. But one of the things that's nice about them is you can have these things operate on a very, very low head. I think the lowest head they'll work on is 3 feet.
Well, what you're looking at there, that's a low head.
Yeah, and this is at a weir, which means that the water
It's
is
not a
flowing.
dam.
It's not a dam. It looks like a dam a little bit, but the water is flowing over the top of it, and it's falling such a short distance that the fish can swim against the current and go over it, going upstream. So this is, and the Shell Oil, yeah, don't
Well,
want that.
Shell Oil lost the initial court
Yes, so now
case.
they're appealing because this is a terrible thing to allow people to do such a thing. We are up to Tuesday,
Up to Tuesday.
May 24th.
Well, we've got a picture coming up for this guy too.
Yeah, and I have a question about this picture, but let's talk about it first.
Look at the
BD
shoes up
Live.
on the roof.
That's what I was going to ask. Why are there shoes on the roof? And I'm sorry this picture is not higher quality. This is the way it
Well,
came
it's still
to me.
interesting.
Yeah.
What is it? It's not a straw hut. It's wattle and daub or something like that. It's a mud hut
It looks like it's got a metal roof, though.
with a metal roof. Yeah. Off-grid solar solutions bring electricity to rural areas.
The private sector is leapfrogging inefficient state-owned utilities in Africa to deliver electricity to rural people, according to a report by consulting firm PwC, which is, for those who don't know, PricewaterhouseCoopers. An estimated 80% of those without electricity live in rural areas where transmission is excessively expensive. And what that means is that even if you had free power, it would cost a lot of money to get it to these
put the
people,
power lines
because
in.
the power lines are expensive.
They are.
But you've got, women, Maasai women walking around with donkeys that have solar panels on them, and they walk into a
That's
village.
real, by the way. That's really happening.
They
and
walk
that blows
into
the mind.
Yeah, they walk into a village and say, "Here's a solar panel. Here's a battery. Give me
It's on the back of my donkey.
give me some money and I'll put it up for you." And they even have deals where the people who use the equipment lease it.
Well, it's making sense in that context, making
Yep.
a lot of sense.
Yep.
I mean, here's that little house. They've never had any kind of electricity before.
Right.
They probably cook on an open stove in the middle of the room there.
Yep.
So everybody's got lung problems.
Right.
And now they
People
got
die.
one solar panel. It's probably enough for a couple of lights, a TV set. And it won't be an electric cooker, but at least they got a fan to move
the kids can study at night without
Yeah.
having to have open flame.
The 21st century meets the 16th.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you're going straight from the 16th to the 21st, and all those transmission lines and nuclear plants and things like that are left in the dust. Our next
Well,
item.
they don't make sense over there.
No, they don't. Our next item is from Penn Energy. It doesn't make sense in Alaska either.
No, that's true.
Penn Energy.
Okay, Las Vegas casinos move to leave the Nevada energy power grid.
This is an interesting one. MGM Resorts International said it plans to leave the NV Energy in the fall and pay an $87 million exit fee to do so.
So they're getting fined for doing this.
Yeah, while Wynn Resorts is planning a similar move. The casino giants filed paperwork with the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada after months of talks on costs. So these people are not just moving to renewable energy of their own, they're paying tens of millions of dollars to do
For the
it.
privilege.
Yeah.
Well, there's probably, and I'm guessing, but I think my guess is right, that there's a legal structure
Yeah.
in Nevada, as there is in most states,
Yep.
requiring you to buy your power from the utility that's got the monopoly
Yeah.
in your area.
Yeah.
And the utility that's got the monopoly isn't selling the cheapest power. And these guys use a lot of power.
Yep.
So they're saying we can buy it from somebody else, or we can even make it ourselves.
Yes. And then
And it's going to cost us $87 million for
Right.
this privilege.
Right.
That's worth it.
Right.
Blows the mind.
It does. It does indeed. Our next item is from the Keene Sentinel, just
We're
across
back,
the river.
back locally here.
Yeah.
Massive solar array pitched in Fitzwilliam. So they're trying to sell people on it.
That's right. A massive solar array, approximately 60 to 80 times more powerful than any currently in the state of New Hampshire, may be coming to hundreds of acres in Fitzwilliam, New Hampshire. Ranger Solar of Yarmouth, Maine, is proposing to install a solar array of 60 to 80 megawatts on privately held property. And they're talking about 500 acres here for
That's
this
a lot of
solar
land.
farm. And I've been looking into this company. This is a company that could actually pull this off.
I would
this
think.
is not a
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
And you know, there are going to be a lot of different reactions to the idea of 60 to 80 megawatts of solar being put on what is essentially farmland, because a lot of people get very resentful about that sort of thing. And I don't feel all that good about it myself. But you know, we can't do everything just by putting solar panels on rooftops. It can't be done.
Aren't enough rooftops.
There aren't enough rooftops. And so we've got problems, you know, for all the objections that they have to wind power making people sick. Fossil fuels are already making people sick. For the objections that people have about wind power reducing property values, fossil fuels are reducing property values.
This show doesn't play in New Hampshire, does it?
What show?
This
Oh,
one. You can get it on the web.
You
but
could get it on the web, and as far
You're
as
not
I know,
getting it on
you
the
can
cable.
if people want it, they can ask the local, if they've got a local
Yeah, but
public access television. The local, they're usually pretty
they
responsive.
can do it, but we don't know that anybody's doing it.
I don't know that anybody's doing it in New Hampshire. I know
Well, the
people
point
are
I
doing
guess
it
I'm
in
trying to make is
Massachusetts.
if you're in any way aware of this, you live in New Hampshire,
Yeah,
look up your blog
Yeah.
and get the whole story.
yeah,
The story goes into depth. It shows where this is going to be, what roads it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
These don't mean anything to me because I'm not that familiar with the
Yeah.
geography.
well,
It also mentions that the largest solar array now in the state is almost a megawatt, and it's in Peterborough.
right,
And that's covering about 5 acres.
yep,
And they're proposing a 1 megawatt one about the same size in Hinsdale.
yep.
Okay, I don't know where that is in Hinsdale.
But Hinsdale is just across the river from where we are in Brattleboro.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And this is something that resonated a little bit for me because I used to live
You've lived down that
in
way.
Winchester.
Yeah.
If you just drive on 119, you go
You
from
keep
Brattleboro, Hinsdale, Winchester, Richmond, and
Yeah.
then Fitzwilliam. So I've been through Fitzwilliam many times. I don't know the names of the streets out there, but I do know the property, and that's what they're talking about. We should keep going. We've got this last item coming up, that
Well, we've already mentioned this one.
the Knoxville News Sentinel item.
Well, the Watts Bar reactor achieves fission.
Yeah,
NRC to meet over workplace issues.
Right.
That's a secondary thing.
right.
But yeah, we just talked about
We
Watts
did.
Bar is the name of the new nuclear reactor that just went online.
In Tennessee, first one in 20 years, and honestly, I think it's conceivable that this will be the last nuclear reactor ever put online in this country. I don't expect that it will be.
It may very well be, but just because of the economics.
Yeah. TVA's Watts-Bar Unit 2 reactor achieved initial criticality on Monday, beginning its first sustained nuclear fission reaction. Meanwhile, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is holding a public meeting today to discuss TVA's response to a letter the NRC wrote over working conditions at the plant, and specifically what they were talking about was a chilling effect, which meant that the TVA was trying to get employees not to report problems.
Yeah, that's
And
what
that's
it says
bad
here.
news.
Control room operators at Watts Bar may not feel free to raise safety concerns.
Yeah, that's a problem. If it's actually happening, and of course the NRC was sufficiently convinced that it was happening to scold them on it. So, should we go on from that?
Moving right along.
This is
we're
not
up to Wednesday already.
not the greatest picture in the world. It reminds me a little bit of those old films that you'd see pictures of the sky and hear angels in the background. It's really kind of trite. But this is wind power. Excuse you. Wind power engineering.
I got halfway between an allergy and a cold.
Yeah.
It's not quite cold, it's not quite allergy. It's annoying.
Yeah, I believe it. So what's the title on this one?
American wind power sets sights on doubling in 5 years. That's no surprise.
No, hardly a surprise. By continuing to advance technology and lower costs, wind power will stay on pace to grow to supply 10% of U.S. electricity by 2020. The ongoing cost cuts have led zero-emission wind energy to become the fastest, biggest, cheapest way to cut carbon pollution. And when they say 10% by 2020, we're almost at 5% now. And, you know, I keep hearing people quoting various organizations that say, well, we're only at 4% for our renewable power. I'm sorry, you know, these various organizations can try to say that, but they quote old statistics. And when you're in this business, if a statistic
statistics don't count.
If it's 6 months old, it's obsolescent. If it's a year old, it's obsolete. And they're quoting stuff that's 4 years old.
Well,
on
a
purpose.
backstory here is the wind power in the U.S. today is
Yeah.
almost all onshore. I guess it's all onshore.
It's all onshore right now.
And there's some pretty heavy onshore developments in
Yes,
places like
there
North
are.
Carolina and Texas.
Texas, man.
But we haven't even dipped our feet in the water. And there's that continental shelf out there on the East Coast.
Yes, absolutely.
And the winds are good. And it's a big coast, a big continental shelf. You can't see it from the shore.
Well, not only that, but where there is no continental shelf, they're developing techniques for putting turbines in.
They cost more, that's all.
They cost more.
But yeah,
Yeah.
there's a tremendous opportunity that for reasons I don't understand isn't happening yet. They're still talking about drilling for oil out there, but they're not going to put up turbines.
There are organizations that don't want renewable power put in.
Well,
And they
that's
scare
the
the blazes out of people, and they say, "Don't you understand that if you can see a wind turbine from your restaurant, people won't go there to eat. So you need to. And if you can see a wind turbine or within 5 miles of one, the infrasound will make you sick or whatever it is.
something like that. Yeah.
And
yeah. And we have so much room out there. They could build these all over the coast, and nobody'd be able to see them
yeah.
unless you got
Yeah.
into your yacht and sailed
And
out there.
the birds are smart enough not to fly into them for the most part. Our use of fossil fuels, for every gigawatt hour of energy, of electricity that we are producing by fossil fuels, and you compare that to a gigawatt hour of wind, the fossil fuels industry will kill 30 birds for every one
really?
that's killed. Yeah, that's why they.
It's like birds flying into cooling towers, or
Birds flying into cooling towers is part of it, but
Yeah.
birds being poisoned by pollution, birds losing their nesting grounds because of climate change, there's a lot of problems here.
lot of
A lot of
It's-
problems.
It's It's a widespread problem.
We've lost 70% of our seabirds in the last 60 years.
I have read that. I
Yeah.
have read that. Is that attributed to global climate change?
There's a bunch of things that it's attributed to, but
I mean, that's scary.
fossil fuels underpin most of the reasons.
When's the last time you saw a bluebird?
Oh, I have no idea. When was the last time I saw? I saw a monarch butterfly 3 days ago. I saw another monarch
They're
butterfly
still around.
the day before. I didn't see a single one last summer, and I don't remember any from summer before. Whether they're, this is in the eastern part of the United States. This is an endangered species, and that's because they're using Monsanto products in the Midwest, and they drift here. Now, fossil fuels, you're talking about emissions that are killing birds, and you don't think about the fact that these birds are being poisoned, but they are. I remember driving
Nobody's out there hitting them on the head with a hammer.
Yeah, I remember going down a residential road in New Jersey, and the highway that was next to it had been diverted because of road repairs. And it was right in the middle of the nesting season, baby birds in the nests, and I knew this. And I was driving down that road, and diesel-powered trucks were going down there, and I just thought to myself, those little birds are not going to survive. They're just not going to survive. And that's just something that's clear. But if you consider fossil fuels in general, in the United States, people in Vermont seem to think that they've got clean air. They don't. If you want clean
it comes
air,
from the Midwest.
Yeah. If you're breathing outside in Vermont now, you're breathing air that was over New York probably less than 2 hours ago. And if that same air was probably over Pennsylvania, the same air was probably over Ohio or Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin. This is where it comes from. You want clean air? Go to Nevada.
I remember driving along the Ohio River.
Yeah.
And about every 5 miles is a power plant.
Yeah.
And these stacks go up almost a mile in the air.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Why?
So
because
people on the ground don't get sick.
Don't get it. You know?
They get sick from stuff that's farther west.
I lived in Rhode Island for a while, and there was a problem in Rhode Island with cars. The paint on cars was getting pitted. And the state of Rhode Island attributed it to those power plants on the Ohio River.
And honestly, I believe that's exactly what it was. Although I will tell you, I used to live in Plymouth, Massachusetts,
which is close to Rhode Island.
And I remember going out to my car and finding a very weird dent. It was weird shaped dent in the hood of my car, in the middle of the hood.
Did it match a tree?
Couldn't figure out what this was until I saw a seagull drop a clamshell.
Oh, a clam. Okay. Okay. Bingo.
All right. Our next item, that one was from Wind Power Engineering. Our next item is from Clean Technica.
And it's talking about China's lithium-ion battery production, which has tripled in 2015.
Yeah. The growth of Chinese electrochemical energy storage market over the last 5 years has eclipsed the global average, a report says, with a CAGR over 2010 to 2015 of 110%. That means it's growing at 110% per year. This is outrageous when you have something do that for 5 years.
Yes, it is.
So that is about 6 times as fast as the global figure. The lithium-ion battery market accounted for about 66%. And you know what? If you're a conservative and you want to see the United States stay great, thank you, Mr. Trump, you better get behind the United States and renewable energy, because the Chinese are outperforming the Americans 2 to 1 on renewable energy. And here, despite Elon Musk in lithium-ion batteries, they are going to have energy independence years before the United States does. They're going to have the commercial advantage. They're going to have the military advantage. They're going to have the diplomatic advantage. They're already moving into places like Africa and making friends with people and saying, we will bring you renewable power so that you can have the power you want for cheap.
And they're making friends without exploiting the people.
Well, I don't know that, but
maybe that's phase 2.
Yeah, maybe. But I do know that we are falling behind. We are not going to get great again if we don't face the future. Thank you, Mr. Trump.
The takeaway from this article, by the way, is that the biggest reason behind this trend of battery production in China is electric vehicles.
Yeah.
And they're coming, guys.
Yeah,
they're coming.
They are.
And by the way, there's going to be other kinds of batteries besides lithium ion that some of these guys are going.
Oh, yes.
Because we've talked about it before. There's some smart guys working on some smart batteries as we speak.
Right. Now, we've got a last item here.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Which is dredged up from the 14th of May. It was at the blog, and we talked about it last week, and I said, you know what, I'll bring this in because we were talking about a different aircraft that is planning on flying across the Atlantic Ocean using no fossil fuels.
It was a biplane. Very interesting.
Right, very interesting. This, however, is the Lilium Electric Jet, and this was an article that came from the BBC, and I put the other article on for the show last week because I wasn't 100% sure about this, because when I saw it, the BBC was the only place I could find a report on it. But right after, I found that it was reported by CNN, it was reported by so many places, it was crazy. So,
As I said at the beginning of the show, before we were on the air, actually, I said when I was a kid, I used to read about stuff like this in the magazines, in the comic books.
Right.
And now we're on the cusp of actually seeing these things.
These things, I'm sure, will be put into production. There will be people who have them. They're expensive as all get out. I read.
But any kind of small plane's expensive.
Yeah, I read the company spokesman said this is going to be cheaper than a Cessna Model XYZ. I don't know what the model was. I don't remember. But the model, according to the person writing the article, cost $307,000. And the article that I read, they said it would cost somewhere between 40 and 50,000 pounds, British pounds, which would be 50, 60, 70, I don't know, $1,000 to learn how to fly one of these things. And you know, Tom, you were saying but they fly by computer. They probably do, but you have to learn how to land them if they're not working properly. So you have to
that could be a big problem.
Right.
By the way, let's take a look at that picture there.
Yeah.
The spindles sticking out of the front there are the heavy-duty jet engines that are going to push it.
Yep.
They rotate.
Yeah,
there's
a little
I know.
fan inside. And you can see them over the wing. There's a whole bunch of little
a whole
fans.
bunch of them in the back over the wing. I don't know if they rotate or not. They might.
They do.
But the whole the whole reason for this thing is a short takeoff and land. It'll take off from your garden.
Yep. It'll take off from your
almost
garden.
vertically.
Almost vertically. And there's another thing about this that I find very interesting, and in fact fascinating, and it's important, you know, to pay attention to this kind of thing. This thing can be charged fully from a household circuit overnight. It goes
fly. 300 miles.
Yeah, it'll go over 300 miles on a single charge, and it'll do that at a speed of about 250 miles an hour.
That's not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
That's faster than the speed limit on I-91.
Is it? I was sitting here thinking, you know, you could commute daily using one of these things to New York City.
Well, the plane we talked about last week that's going over the Atlantic Ocean in about another 2 weeks, that's only driving at about 100 clicks, 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's going slow.
It's going slow.
This is not.
This is not going slowly. This
is
a fast
another
vehicle.
thing I found from this article, or from some clicks that were in this article, is there's other people working on other types of planes very similar to this.
Very similar. And they're all kinds, you know, hovercraft, some of them are aircraft like this, some of them are really kind of exotic. But, you know, the whole thing is changing. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future of transportation. I do know that we're at a point where transportation is the elephant in the living room. That's
oh yeah, it is a big elephant too.
It is, and it takes up a huge amount of energy, and it could be done a different way. But we've got to buck the trends that are being foisted off on us by the fossil fuel industry, and
well, way back in the 50s.
Yeah.
This is literally true, a conspiracy.
Yes.
Of oil companies,
Yes.
tire companies,
Yes.
a few car, truck, GM,
Yep.
to buy up all the trolley cars and put them out of existence.
You know, this was done over and over again.
All over America. I mean,
All
the
you've
one
got to, do you know the Sawmill River Road?
Yeah.
Do you know why those bridges over that road
Well,
look the way they do?
trucks. It's no commercial
They
traffic
wanted
allowed.
to make sure that buses could not drive on that road. They wanted
I can believe it.
commuters
Yeah.
in New York to commute to the city by car
Yeah.
instead of by mass transit, because and it was exactly for the type of reason you're talking about. And this kind of thing, there's still stuff going on today that.
Well, it was built to be a commuter road.
Yes.
It was not a commercial road at all.
Anyway, we should probably put ourselves up so that we can say goodbye.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at what's left here, and there's nothing left.
There's
in my
nothing
bin
left.
here.
So goodbye.
Goodbye.
See you next time.
Wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. We spin and we toil, we work all day, sowing and reaping, we store goods away, so we can be dressed well on the day that we die. We dig and drill and waste what we find, break up the earth, leaving little behind, but we will grow lilies in the by and by. I want to point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I want to hope gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still.